Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here. I'm back in the car, commissioner in the car. Today is Tuesday, and it is June 13th, and I am back in the car, back from my DC trip, and getting ready for the big primary that is 2 weeks away from today. And so what does that mean? This weekend, we are going into early voting, and there's a new twist to early voting this year. But let me go over the main facts of early voting. Early voting starts on the 10th day before the election. It runs for 9 days, so it'll start on Saturday and it'll go until the next Sunday. And there will be no early voting on the Monday before the election, and of course, election day voting on that Tuesday, on the 27th. Early voting sites for this year's primary are reduced. The reason is that we don't have a full countywide primary. We only have Democratic races inside the city of Syracuse, Republican primaries in Salina and Pompey, and conservative primaries all over the county. But there's so few conservatives, relatively speaking, that we're not opening up all 10 sites. We're actually only opening up 5 early voting sites, and that's actually more than what we would be legally obligated to do. So we're doing more sites than what we're legally obligated to do, because the whole county is having an election, and there are some town elections happening as well as the city. So we are opening up in a special early voting site not normally seen in the town of Salina, in the town hall, an early voting site at Lafayette Fire Station number 1. That'll handle the north half of the county and the south half of the county, as well as the town of Salina Republicans and town of Pompey Republicans. Though anybody can vote at any site. And we also have our 3 sites inside the city: Armin Magnarelli, Beecham Library, and Syracuse Community Connections. Hours are open from 9 to 5 on the weekends, 10 to 6 on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, and Wednesday and Thursday is noon to 8. You can go to onvote.net and find out about all of that. And remember, you can go to any site you want. You can go to and vote. And then of course, I told you that there's a special twist to early voting this year, and that's what's called the Golden Day. That's this Saturday, June, what's today? Today's the, what did I say today was? Today is the 13th. So June 17th, the start of early voting. This is what's called the Golden Day. And why do we call it that? Well, this year, the registration date for an election used to be 25 days before the election you had to register. This year, starting this year, it went down to 10 days before the election you had to register. Well, on the 10th day is when early voting starts. So the legislature made a law that got passed and made sure that if you vote on that 10th day before the election, if you're not registered to vote, you can vote by affidavit ballot, and you will register and vote at the same time. Your vote will count. So that's what we call it, the Golden Day. It's essentially same-day registration done by affidavit ballot, so we can check it afterwards, make sure somebody isn't walking around to different counties. We do a cross-check and make sure that's happening, so they're not registering to vote and voting in 2 different areas on the same day. Be a lot of driving, but you never know. So we make sure it doesn't happen. So that's the Golden Day. So if you know some people that haven't registered to vote and they don't want to register, and it may be too late to register now because they mail it in, we may register them, but they won't be in the poll book anyways. They can just go in and do the affidavit ballot, bring in your driver's license number. You don't have to have your ID on you, but it'll help us find you quicker if you have your driver's license number on the affidavit form, or your last 4 of your social security number. So if you're planning on voting and you're not sure if you're registered, Saturday is a good day to do that. Because if you're not registered, we can have you do an affidavit ballot and vote. And you know, you can't change your party registrations if you're a new registrant. You can change your address through affidavits, but if you're not registered at all, you can also register to vote, and that's a new change this year from previous years. So that's the golden day. So early voting, again, starting June 17th, running through, June 17th. And it's running for 9 days. And then of course the primary elections on the 27th. So June 17th through the 25th is for early voting, and then the primaries on June 27th. Of course, primary days open 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. You can still do absentee ballots if you can't do it online anymore. You would have to come into the Board of Elections and get an absentee ballot. And the same rules apply to that, except for the pandemic excuse is no longer valid. So you cannot you cannot use the pandemic excuse to temporary illness. It goes back to the old rules of absentees, which is that you're either temporary ill, physically not present in the county, or there's several other, a caregiver for someone who's bedridden, or a veteran on active duty. There's a few other excuses on there. But the time to get that mailed to you has passed, so you have to come into the Board of Elections, and we can print you up a ballot. When you come in, you can one-stop shop and vote if that's what you wish, or you can wait for Saturday for early voting to start. I do not expect a lot of lines. Primaries are usually very dead, but we'll see what happens. And so that's the scoop. That's what's going on. I'm making this a quick commissioner car, and I just want to apologize. A lot of my content, I just haven't had time to get it done. There's been a lot going on. I had my trip to D.C. last week, the end of the legislative session, and of course, getting ready for this primary. And I've just been, not able to get out my weekly wonks like I used to, or my Zoom with Zarnies. Those will continue after the election, I promise. But for now, they're on hold. And after the election, I will, start the weekly wonks up again. I will start the Zoom with Zarnies up again. And we'll have a lot of candidates to talk to between now and the general election. But for now, I'm just going to be focusing on my weekly Commissioner in the Cars. So I'll be next week on Tuesday. We'll be in the middle of early voting. I'll be talking about that, and I'll also be talking about all the polling places. And then, of course, I'll probably do it the Monday before the election. I'll do a Commissioner in the Car about primary day itself. So, and then in July, I'll be back on my content schedule, I promise. Sometime, and that will start with a preview of, or a wrap-up of the legislative session. And one of the reasons I'm not doing that right now is that we saw 14 chapter laws passed, and some big ones. You may have seen the even year bill being talked about, and early voting by mail. But I'm waiting because the Assembly is going back to session next week, and they may pass some more election law bills. So I'm going to wait to do a big wrap-up of the election year in July, right after the primary. So that'll be one of the first Commissioner in the Cars I'll do after the primary will be that. So stay tuned for all of that. Thank you so much for your patience on all of the things that I've been doing and being kind of behind on some of the content. Thank you so much for your interactions on my trip to DC with issue 1. So much went so well with that. I was just honored to be there. But now I'm back. We're getting ready for this primary, and I got a lot of things going on at the Board of Elections this summer. So stay tuned, and we'll be back to you. Bye-bye.